Hey everybody, welcome to the Song Revolution podcast, brought to you by Nashville Christian Songwriters. Nashville Christian Songwriters exists to empower Christian songwriters worldwide. I'm John Chisum, and this podcast exists to bring you valuable songwriting insights, inspiration, interviews, and just all around good fun with some of the greatest songwriters, producers, arrangers, artists, and creatives, and beyond. You can find out a whole lot more about us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com.
So what would it be like to share the stage with Skillet, Red, Reliant K, Trapped, 3 Days Grace, 1,000-Foot Crutch, Pillar, Firefly, Crowder, Family Force 5, Single File, Amory, Waverly, Fuel, The Hurt, the Exes, and Drowning Pool, and so many other great artists and bands? Well, my guests today, Aaron Watkins, Josh Bertrand, Rob McDonough, and Patrick Madsen, know a little bit about this. They are the band Random Hero, and they've played and ministered to thousands of fans alongside these great bands at mega gatherings like Cornerstone, Agape Fest, Hills Alive, Heaven Fest, and the Elitch Gardens Amusement Park. They were chosen by MTV to film an episode of Made, and they've worked with the ESPN X Games, AMA Motocross, and the Go Fast Extreme Games. That sounds like a whole lot of fun. Makes me want to break into motocross myself because I loved meeting and interviewing these guys. They were just very authentic, so real. And we had a great talk about what they're up to with their new album, Tension. We got into some deep discussions about their motivations and the challenges they face in keeping it all together, staying engaged in ministry while juggling family and life, what their greatest challenges are and how they deal with them, and what it takes to make great music that connects with their fans. I know you're going to want to hear what they say and connect into the hearts of these great guys. But before we get to the show, I want to take a moment to personally invite you to come hang out with me and my amazing friends at the upcoming Song Revolution workshop happening October 17 through 19 right here in Nashville. This is our 8th workshop, and each one of them is just off the chain, you guys. You get to hang out with me and the entire NCS staff and coaches, meet people like Tom Jackson, who's coached every major Christian artist, and people like Shawn Mendes and Taylor Swift. You get to meet John Mays, A&R director for Lauren Daigle at Centricity Music. You also get to meet and hang out with pro songwriters like Kenna Turner West. She's a multi-award-winning songwriter for Curb Word Entertainment with over 37 number one hits and counting. Doesn't get much better than that. You get 3 songs coached and actually get to be heard for the songwriter that you are over the 3 days of coaching, teaching, and connecting. There's nothing like it, and you can still save $100 if you register by October 10th. But I got to tell you, we only have about 15 spots left right now here in the middle of August, and I know this one is going to sell out as our last event of the year. So jump over now to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and grab your spot to come and hang out with us. Get heard. These spots are going to go quickly, and I'm just jealous for you to be here. You get to experience the Nashville music scene with some great friends and meet top industry influencers, as well as have a dinner over at Centricity Music with John Mays, and I don't think you want to miss that. We're offering a 15% discount for groups of 2 or more, so why not bring your songwriting friends and share the love? We also have an affordable audit pass for non-songwriters to attend, like your spouse or great Auntie Jane, who just wants to come hang out in Nashville for a few days with you. Again, check it all out over at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com. So, Random Hero. Just had a lovely time with these guys, and I know you're going to love our candid and authentic talk about life, ministry, and what these guys are all about. So, please welcome to the Song Revolution, Aaron, Josh, Rob, and Patrick, Random Hero.
I feel the tension.
All right, guys, Aaron and Rob, Patrick, Micah, Random Hero, good to have you guys on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, man, what's going on? Let's do a little kind of a check-in, like maybe who each of you are, kind of what you do in the band, and what's going on with your ministry.
Yes, I'm Patrick. I'm the drummer. I've been in the band for about 5 years.
My name's Aaron. I'm the lead singer, and I've been in the band for almost 13 years.
I'm Mike. I play guitar. I've been in the band since 7 o'clock this morning.
I'm Rob. I play the bass, and I've been in the band going on 8 years.
Wow. Okay, who started the band?
Our original guitar player, Bertrand, started the band, and then couple years later, I joined, and that's when we started putting out records. Pretty much everything that you see since day one was between he and I, and so now we're opening a new chapter, and it feels good.
Yeah. Okay. So is this the first record that's coming out in August? We'll talk about in the second half of the show. Is this like, how long has it been since the last record?
Last record we put out was The Covering, and it came out in 2017.
Okay. So not all that long. So.
Yeah. I mean, it's the end. It's definitely the end of its cycle. So
yeah. Right. Well, give us a little insight into your ministry and kind of your focus and what you're doing with your music.
I think for us, and I mean, I'll let everybody else kind of say their piece, but for me personally, I love the fact that we're able to go, we've always said that we want to be, I mean, I think a lot of bands do say they want to be a light in the darkness, but I feel like we're called to be out there with the people that need to hear about Jesus, and whether that's a secular audience or, a Christian audience, and we just want to go out there and be the iron that sharpens iron in some of those dark places that lifts up the name of Jesus, because I believe that what we do is a form of worship, and it might be just worship in our own way. I don't think that you have to go to church to worship, because you can worship in your car, you know what I'm saying? And I love the fact that God gave us music as one of the greatest weapons against the enemy, and so this is just our form of spiritual warfare, to go out and be a light in the darkness. So
Patrick again. There's so much negativity in the world, and especially in music, and there's such negative music, and it seems to be popular in today's standards among positive music. It supersedes it, and so I find great honor in making music and being a part of a project that promotes positivity, promotes encouragement, and in the stories we hear abroad from people, it always kind of sums up what we're doing, and it's reassurance that that we're making the right move, that God has us right where He wants us. So it's part of mine.
I think, as cliche as it is that everyone says, I want to make music about positivity and, lifting people up, I think there's still not a lot of people that go out into the real world, as you may want to call it, and actually just doing it without shoving it down someone's throat. And sometimes it's just being there to listen to someone's experience and what they're going through in life, and let them know, hey, you know what? I do the same thing. I've gone through those things. I'm not perfect. You're not perfect. And we're going to figure this out. And let me show you how I've gotten past all these obstacles. It's, through God.
Yes, I basically ditto to everything they said, but within our collective ministry, I think we all have our separate ministries that we do on our own too, and that all plays a huge part into that as well. So,
can you open that up a little bit more? What are your separate ministries?
So, like for me, like the reason I wear goggles on stage is I struggle with an addiction to pornography, and just kind of a metaphoric way of shielding my eyes from porn, and gets people's attention on stage, and I get to witness to them and share my testimony, and yeah.
Cool.
Micah's personal ministry is all about beard growth.
I think so. He definitely wins.
He definitely does win it. But I'll let you, if you have anything to say.
I would have to say, and this is a little bit different, is be an example I'm a young dad. I've got a 3-year-old, and I think just being a really good example for other young guys to let them know that, hey, you know what? It's not that scary. I mean, it's hard for sure, but I've had a lot of people, just the way that I raise my son and I interact with him in public or at home. I've heard people tell me, like, you know what? Seeing you as a dad, the way that you treat him and you raise him up gives me the courage that I know that I can do this. And that tells you that, hey, you're doing something for the most part right. Okay.
Absolutely. I think for those of us, all of us that are married, we're all married. And I think a part of our big ministry together is like to our families, obviously. But as like individually for me, I think mine is I just have a heart for worship, and I just love all things about it. And how you can just really feel the Holy Spirit move within all facets of music that's worshipful. And so that aside too is just loving on people. You know, there's too much. Like I've said it before, there's so much to give, but not enough of it being given away. And it's free, but you know, we're also caught up in our own lives that you know, we get stuck and rushed and don't get to necessarily treat people the right way. And that's how all these problems happen, is it sparks from something probably really stupid and really small and turns into an issue. So I say mine is just, you know, worship and just loving on people.
My ministry was a little background about me too, because it kind of parlays into it. But my ministry was, I came from the secular scene, and I was 23 years on this earth as an atheist before I found Christ. And so my ministry is there was this term that was thrown around a lot, and it probably still is. I've heard it a lot, but it's called baby Christian. And these people are like, well, you know, I'm a baby Christian, man. And like, it's like, no, you're Christian. That's to be a celebration. You're reborn in the blood of Christ right there. Like, that's a major thing. Don't downplay it. You know, I hate that so much, but there's a lot of people that come to the shows and they're like, oh man, I've never been in a church to see a rock show, you know? And then they talk to me and they're like, so you must have grown up in the church, you know, playing churches. And I'm like, well, let me tell you a little bit about myself. And then we start to meet each other right in the middle, and they start to see that, because there's like this assumption that all Christian bands grew up in the churches, and there's this thing growing around that all Christian bands rock bands are just youth groups with eyeliner, and then, you know, and that's what a lot of people say, and you hear it, and still, yeah, and there's like memes posted all the time, and so there's that assumption that everyone's just grown up in the church and everything's been married their whole life, and it's not the case. And we try to get real with these people because they're struggling, and that's why they came to this place, and then that's why they were willing to be a non-believer but step into the doors through a church. And so I've met so many people that have the same walk of life with me, and I like to minister to them in that regard. So that's mine.
Man, you said it so fast, but that's really deep.
I thought that was just me. I was just like,
no, man.
Wow.
That was blazing fast.
That was amazing.
I was.
If you really caught that, wow.
You could be like one of those guys on the commercials where they talk like
the Micro Machine guy. Yeah. Remember the little cars? Right? And he's like,
yes. Yeah. Dude, wow, that was really fast.
That was impressive.
But,
slow down.
No, but I mean, those two very, very cool testimonies, you know, Rob coming out of porn and you coming out of just, you know, atheism, to really be real with people where they are, even in the churches. And so do you play a lot of secular venues or just more in straight ahead Christian venues? We,
so as of recently, we've been playing more just Christian venues. But I think a lot of at the heart of who we are, we love getting down in the clubs and just doing life with those people. Cause I mean, it's just a part of who we are. I mean, we don't feel necessarily called to just one venue, you know? So, and it's just really, we'll play wherever, but you know, we love going out and playing the clubs and just, you know, those people that need to hear about Jesus in those moments.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned a couple of times about kind of the positive spin of your music. So is that like Jesus light, or is it more like, you know, I mean, is it just let's love one another? Where does that kind of fall for you guys?
I don't know. I mean, I always refer back to the Bible, where it is like the greatest commandment He's given us to love one another. And so I wouldn't say it's like an energy or positivity thing. And it's not necessarily talking about like, you know, you got to come to church to believe in Jesus, because I think, you know, as I've grown up in my faith and my walk, I've stopped really like thinking about a lot of things in terms of like, when I meet Jesus face to face, I don't believe He's going to ask me, Aaron, were you a good Christian? Because, you know, he's going to know you if your name's written down in the Lamb's Book of Life. And I think He's going to say, do I know you? And, you know, without hesitation, it's going to be yes. So I think we like to try to get past that terminology of just like religiosity and get into the heart of it. And that's with the relationship. And because it's not about like, I have to be a Christian, I have to do this, I have to do that. Because we're going to screw up. Like, we screw up every day. You know what I mean? And so it's more about us being able to say, it's not hard to have a relationship with Jesus, to have a hope-filled life, because all it takes is just a relationship, and all it is just praying. Whether it's worship, you just spend time sometimes, like, and it doesn't have to be all day long. It can be minutes a day. It's just having that relationship, because in relationships, you can't build it if you don't communicate, and I think that's what God wants, and he desires that from us. And so we kind of take that in to all the venues that we go to. It's not just we don't try to get overly preachy, but it's about telling people like you're loved, and like loving on people is in a sense of like when they come to the merch table, we spend actual like intentional time with them rather than just going out and just like signing it and just going with the motions. Like we'll spend like time just talking to people and asking how are you? If people ask for prayer, we'll do it. And so that's really like, I think probably the biggest part of our ministry is just making ourselves available. Whereas there's some bands that don't, and people want to have that connection, and you don't know, even like they might just love you and admire you for what you do, and that's cool. But the impact you could have on their life in a long lasting scenario, if you just make yourself available, and you just never know. It's astronomical, you know what I mean? So I think that's when we say love and all that, I think that's what I mean when I refer back to that. It's just being available and just literally loving on people and intentionally asking, because it's not enough intentionality happening in the world today, whereas people are just so fast paced and they just want to get on with life and go. And it's like, like the other day I said, "Hey, how are you?" Some guy was just walking by and he just stopped, looked me in the eyes, and he said, "I'm great. Thanks for asking." And I was like, whoa, it's just his intentionality to stop and say, "Thank you for asking," because he hadn't been asked that in a while. And that's, it's just little things like that. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think I was kind of drilling down to maybe even lyric content, like even in your songs. Are they straight ahead, Jesus-oriented songs? Because we talked about being positive.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tension in the world. For sure. About, if you're just going the love route and the grace versus truth and, all that. And I don't really want to go too deep into that, but, but just trying to understand more of kind of your lyric direction.
Gotcha. Right. So that the lyric direction just really comes from just where we're at in our lives, and we try to write as open and honest songs as we can, without crossing lines or being too overly this, we want like, you don't necessarily have to find a perfect balance, because I don't believe like you have to say the name of Jesus constantly in a song for people to believe or know that you are a believer or in a Christian band or whatever. I think it's all about how the Holy Spirit allows you to move in that song and within that song and giving it space to move. And so we try to do that rather than just sometimes it's straight to the point. Sometimes it's, we want you to take it and spin it however you want it. You know what I mean? Whereas like we write it for a certain scenario that we go through or, a situation. And for us, it might mean something different than it would mean for you or for Brian or, for Joe. And so that's to us, I love that, because it gives you the ability to interpret it how you want.
Exactly. So you've been at this probably longer than anybody in the room, right?
Yes.
Aaron. So maybe this is the question best for you. You're at a place where you are beginning a new season as Random Hero, but you have enjoyed success over these years. So what do you think has been your single greatest hurdle to that success, and how have you dealt with that?
Well, that's a great question. Probably having Patrick in the band.
$5 later.
Yeah.
Dude. No, that's the greatest hurdle, right?
That's the greatest hurdle. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be careful, Aaron. I think he could take it.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been working out lately. I got Mike on my side too. And Rob and Brian. That's going to take us all. But I think the biggest hurdle for me as I've been going through this is I think that, we've seen some success from it hasn't been like an astronomical amount or, but I think everything has always been a steady increase, and there's always been steady affirmations of where we've been going and what we've been doing. And I think the biggest hurdle that I as of recently, like that I really got down into was just like this like hurdle of just defeat. There's just so much to know about the music industry, and I like we've been in it for a long time. And when you think you're doing great at something in an industry, then it changes, and then you're not doing great, and then like your demographic changes, and then you're like your likes go down, or what I mean, like your plays are going down. Then you got to boost them up, and so there was definitely a spirit of defeat that I felt that I was kind of stumbling into, and I would find myself just in just like a pretty funky space. And what was crazy about this hurdle and how I got out of it, so it lasted for probably about a week. And so I was literally just couldn't think. Like my kids were trying to spend time with me, and I felt like I was half there, and I was like, this is not me. And so I literally went to church, and I was leading worship, which I shouldn't have been doing. I didn't feel like I should be there, but my church was like, we needed you. And I was like, cool, I'll show up, I'll go through the motions and do what you asked me to do, and then I'll go home. But in that instance, it's crazy how God puts you in positions to like work in your life. And so I started leading worship, and then he started speaking, like just speaking. And I was like, we're going through some worship song, and it, like literally I heard him say, I know that you are dealing with this spirit of defeat, and that's not from me. And he said, and it was just so crazy. He's like, when you walk, you look down at your feet. And I was like, okay, where are you going with this? And he said, I didn't ask you to look at your feet. I've asked you to look at me. And I was like, whoa, just mind was blown. And so I took that home with me, and I felt really encouraged from that, because when we look at our feet, we go where our feet lead us, and you're not listening to anybody. You're just walking your own path. But when you're looking up and you're watching where God wants you to go, and you're allowing him to lead you, like where he's going to take you is it's unfathomable, And so I think I was stuck in this spirit of defeat because I was trying so hard to do this and do that. I got to get social media up. I got to get, we got to get tracks on the computer. We got to buy a computer. We got to buy a new track system. We got to buy a new tour vehicle. We got to find a guitar player. We got to find, all these things happening. And I still I got to work. I got to be with my family. I have to be present. You know what I mean? I have to be joyful. I have to be these things. And so I think I just got to a place where I was just running my own race, looking at my own feet, trying to figure out where the heck I can take this, where God's saying, hello, I'm literally right here, and I can take it for you. And so after that night, I started, when I walk, I'm like, I just start keeping my head up a little bit more and more every day, where I'm like, okay, where are we taking this, And then like, it's scary jumping into some of these things that we're doing for this new record. And it's like, all right, we're just going to figure it out. This is where we're supposed to be. That's where we're going to go. So
probably fill in some different details, but man, that's a good sermon for a lot of us, that feel that defeat, and to look up and not look down at your feet, but look into the face of Christ.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And that was what I was doing, man. I'm telling you, I feel like so many people as believers, we get, feel like we have these dreams that God places in our hearts, and these things that we know we're supposed to do, but you look at how big that mountain is, and you're like, that's scary, and I'm gonna get myself up that mountain, when God's like, I don't want you to take yourself up that. I want to take you up the mountain. I want to walk up with you with that, and at times I'm gonna have to carry up that mountain, and if you wander off, I'll bring you right back. So
you're preaching, dude. I think we're gonna have to take up an offering or something.
Make all those donations payable to Random Hero Music.
Exactly. Well, we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I think I'd like to just maybe hear from you guys about the new record, Tension, coming out in August, and maybe how some of that's played out in the new songs.
Let's do it.
All right, we'll see you guys back in just a minute.
We're going to take just a quick break and talk about something that I think is going to be very valuable for you as a Christian songwriter. So check it out.
Do you feel like God's given you a bunch of songs, but you don't know what to do with them? Do you feel like you've got a real call on your life to write, but you're clueless about where to start? Or maybe you've got writer's block and you're wondering if you'll ever get the creative juices flowing again. Well, we've got you covered. with NCS membership. NCS membership is all about community and how to grow in this calling you feel deep inside to be heard. We get it. We know that you just want to honor God with your talents and be a good steward of what He's given you. And that's why NCS membership could be your next right step to grow, learn, be challenged, get connected, and ultimately fulfill your dreams to glorify God and reach others with the same passion you feel. It's designed to help you tell your story and to reach listeners who will love your songs. With your NCS membership, you'll receive 24/7 access to valuable masterclasses on topics such as modern hymn writing, worship writing, song form, lyric development, and recording home demos, as well as discounts for other NCS products and a deep connection into a community of creatives who get you. There are a lot of songwriters out there, so you need to be the best you can be to stand out, be heard, and become the songwriter you were born to be. Just go to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com now to check out all the great benefits of becoming part of a decidedly Christian community of songwriters from all over the world. NCS membership, your next right step to being heard.
Well, I just hope that you'll take advantage of that and check it out. All right? We bring you good stuff here on the Song Revolution podcast. So back to our episode. Okay, everybody, I'm back with some great guys, Aaron, Rob, Patrick, and Micah, the newbie on the block, random hero. We've been having a good chat, getting preached at by Pastor Aaron over here. So, we've received our morning offering, and so
I don't know that I would ever call me a pastor.
Good stuff. So I want to talk about the new record in just a moment, Tension, coming out in August, as we said earlier, and get into some of the songs and content and kind of how you're feeling about all that. But maybe it'd be great for our listeners to get a little bit of background on you guys. I know that Ben Cassica of Skillet really was influential in the earlier days, and you've worked with him often. Maybe give us some of the background, Aaron.
So our career really it took off once we worked with Ben. It's funny that years later we're still talking about Ben from Skillet, and he was the former guitar player from Skillet, and we were around when he actually left the band, but he was pretty instrumental in getting us to where we are now, because he took us under his wing. He taught us a lot about our songwriting, especially at such an early stage in our career. And so, once he produced that first EP, then we released our first singles, and then we started to see a little bit of success, like on the Billboard charts. And so that was pretty awesome. And then it really took off, and then we carried it over into our next records, Carry Me, Bury Me, and then Oceans of Change, and then the Covering, and now and the Tension, and so Tension, we had done the same thing for the last 3 full-length records, and wrote them with just us as a collective group, and so we wanted to break out of that shell and really touch on some new creativity and see where we could take it. And so for this new record, we got some co-writes out here in Nashville with Kellen McGregor from Memphis Mayfire and Josiah Prince from Disciple, and both those guys are legends. And I'll let Pat talk about working with Kellen and Rob talk about working with Josiah, and we can split it up so I can stop talking.
You're doing great, buddy.
Yeah, I'll pick it up from here with Kellen. Kellen, he comes from a really heavy background, and so if you haven't heard his band Memphis Mayfire, shouts out to them. They're pretty heavy, and they're heavier than us, and so we anticipated upon coming up to his studio that we were going to write a heavy record. And when we got in there, the first question he asked us was so hilarious. He goes, "So, did you guys come with anything? What do we got? Where are we starting at?" We all kind of looked at each other, and we were like, You got something? You got something? And
a scary question.
And then Aaron busted out a voice memo of a song that he had written. He had some inspiration one night, so he just popped on his voice memo and recorded what we know now to be Desperate Measures. And so he shows him the voice memo, and the voice memo starts with a little 5-second silence, and then it goes, "Hey guys." And this is the first time And we're all super nervous at this point because we never met Kellen up to this point, and we have never worked with him.
Like fumbling the phone. I'm like, just
so funny. And that's the first thing he hears is, "Hey guys, it's Eric." and then the song came. But the organic nature of working with Kellen McGregor is something I will never forget. I mean, it was fun, the quality that we came out of with, and the guy is just a genius. I'm telling you, we've worked with many a producer and stuff. The guy's just on another level, and he's natural. It's just a natural thing to him. He makes it look so easy. And so I'll let Rob talk to you about our other guy, Josiah Prince.
Yes, so we wrote with Josiah Prince from Disciple, and he is so versed in like so many instruments, like piano. Like none of us knew how to play piano. Yeah. We're like poking at it. Yeah, we're like, how do we do that? And he just like starts playing all this stuff. And I'm like, that's awesome. But he's so fast with whatever he's doing and efficient with like all the computer stuff, which was awesome.
And like to piggyback off what Rob's saying about Josiah is, I don't think I've ever laughed that much, in like to the point where my stomach was hurting, and all of us.
I think both Kellen and Josiah.
But Josiah, the only thing that was different from Kellen was with Josiah, we'd known him and toured with him on the road for a few years. And so when we went and wrote with him, it was just like hanging out with our buddy again, as opposed to like Kellen, we didn't know at all. And so there was a nervousness, and then there was a laxness with Josiah. And then we were just hanging out, and I'm telling you, we were laughing so hard, but we're writing these quality songs in the process. And so those two, I mean, hats off to them. I think they're going to be legends in that department. I think they're untapped. And if you haven't heard of them, you will soon. Like, I think their work speaks for themselves. So
sweet. Well, maybe with the shout out, we can get them on the show.
Yeah, come on. I know they'd love it. I know them. I know they'd love to.
Yeah. Well, get the hookup going there, buddy. That's awesome. Well, so tell us about the new record.
Yes, the new record, titled Tension. And that song primarily was, it was just really a pivotal time. I remember the day we were writing it, we were battling some stuff and we're going through some internal stuff with our band. And we really were at a tense spot, and we wanted to somehow use that motion and use it productively. And we captured tension, and that song literally was tense the whole day and everything about it. And we had to take lunch that day, remember? And we were like, "Oh, was something wrong? Maybe I need to pray it out." And and then we got back and then we finished it, and it turned out to be one of our favorites on the record. And it's, but yeah, that's the whole basis behind it. And that's literally the whole basis behind the record was where we were and what it took to get to those guys to start writing was something Random Hero never experienced. There was such a tense amount of stress that led up to this record. And so we captured it and then we named it. So.
Absolutely. And with that, like, I think it's something that everybody relates with. Like we've all felt tension. It's not something that you're like, "Oh, I've never experienced tension before," and it's just it is such a, I guess, an intense emotion, especially when it's like not spoken about and it's in the room. It's just there and you feel it. And so we wanted to just really capture where we were at in an honest way, throughout this entire record, whether it's with like the slower songs or the heavier songs. And so that's when we came about to it. And it was just, man, everything just happened so just cohesively and just so naturally that it just felt right. And when you're really trying to force something, it doesn't feel right. It's like, this is awkward and it doesn't make sense to me, but everything just happened so fluidly and just perfectly, man. And so that's how we got to it. But the record that was probably going to blow your mind if you're listening to this, and you're going to want to check it out.
Great job, you guys. Thanks so much, Random Hero. Thanks for
having us, man.
Yeah, all the best.
Awesome.
Hey, what a fantastic show today. I hope you caught all the value bombs that were dropped on this one and that you'll begin to immediately incorporate them into your songwriting. You can get even more valuable songwriting tools and inspiration when you join NCS membership. You can become a part of a growing community of songwriters from around the world and tap into some of the most powerful resources available to step you up in your songwriting destiny. Check out NCS membership now at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and get ready for some exponential power to help you fulfill your call to write. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.